Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the Cyber Gizmo, I'm going to be covering the great browser privacy test. Yeah, what about performance? Well, we'll get to that too. So, and who's watching you? If you think that your browser is private, I think you should think again. Right now, even as you are watching me, your browser is leaking data all over the place. It not only tracks your movements, but it also identifies all the devices that you have connected to it. And it's a feeding machine that knows more about you than you do. I mean, which browser is really the worst? And this is actually a browser that keeps you safe. Today we're going to find out. This isn't the normal, or here's the top 5 browsers in 2025. No, we're not doing that. Yeah, I guess, for the purposes of this, I'm going to use Ubuntu 24.10, and this is the GNOME edition, mainly because it's the only thing that'll run on the box. It's not my choice. I think maybe Ubuntu locked the door behind it so they can't put anything else out there with it. I wanted to install Fedora, and I know I've had Fedora on there before, but for some reason, all of a sudden, it don't like it. So, yeah, so that's what we're stuck with. I might come back and maybe at some point do another video on Arch or maybe some other distro. But the point is that a distro could alter some of the performance, obviously. We've seen that before. But generally speaking, if the kernel versions are the same, you shouldn't see too much. And we've kind of seen that as well. So yeah, we're running some real tests here. This isn't about opinion. This is about fact. That's the way engineers work. We don't go, well, gee, I think this might be. No, that doesn't count. Nobody cares. Not in the engineering world. So the Electronic Freedom Frontier, or EFF, is tracking the analysis. They have a tool that will open your browser up and ask it a bunch of questions and see how much data it spills. I should run Wireshark as well. And again, in the second part of these tests down the road, I'm going to do that because it'd be interesting to see how many of these browsers phone home, right? And see what are they actually doing. And then the third part of this is, why am I doing this? I mean, browsers, most of us spend about 70% of our experience, unless we're gamers, online and doing stuff online. Even if you're a gamer, you're probably using the internet to some degree. But and so I'm doing this because about a month ago, Mozilla published an article that they were changing their policy on data collection. Now, up until this point, Mozilla and Firefox has always been kind of the bastion of, hey, we're not going to collect any data. We're never going to do that. We're never going to, take stuff and sell it that belongs to you. Well, that policy set off alarm bells because the policy change allows them to collect data. This was the original. That doesn't the way it reads right now. But the original one was we have the policy that will allow us to collect data and sell it to AI and ads and wherever we see fit to sell you your information. The community and the open source community blew up in their face, which is pretty typical of what would happen in a lot of times, and they backpedaled. I don't know if it was a week later or maybe just a couple of days later. They said, no, we didn't mean that. We're not going to collect your data. If you go and read it now, it says, no, we're not going to collect your data. We're going to leave it on your machine, and then we'll come and get it, and we'll make sure that it's the word they use is some kind of weasel word for anonymized. And that'll prevent us from, reattaching your identity to this data, which is total nonsense because there's no such thing as anonymized data. So the evaluation is for have tests from Speedometer 3.0 for the performance half and JetStream too. So why would I, actually there's also motion in there as well. But why would I be interested in performance? Because as the old adage goes, if you secure something in the software world, you make it slower. So is that true? If I'm adding, the ability not to track, which is a privacy feature, but that is security. It is preventing your data from leaking out across the internet. Does that slow down the performance of the browser? So do I have an opinion? Yeah, I have an opinion, but that doesn't count. Let's see what it actually is. Do I see a trend between a browser being, if it's more secure, that is, it passes the EFF test, which is called cover your tracks, by the way. And so you can do these things yourself and find out more about that. And so we're going to test 7 browsers today. These are probably the most likely known, and some of them are kind of browsers from the past that filled in gaps. I'm going to look at browsers from Chrome. I know, don't laugh. And Chromium, Brave, Firefox, LibreWolf, which is one of the ones that comes from the past. It's still maintained. It's still actively updated. And then Mullvad, which is a browser that they offer, and then Tor, the Tor project browser. There's no tweaks. There's no extensions. I'm not going in and modifying anything. The reason for that is that I read online, this must be true, that there was a study that said about, I think it was 68% of people that use browsers don't touch the configuration settings. And so, okay, that's a fair thing. Let's measure it that way, and let's see which of these browsers out of the box is the most private, is the most protective of your information. Because chances are they're not going to do anything. And then I'll come back and we'll talk, not today, but I'll come back and we'll talk about how to make all of these browsers kind of approach a satisfactory way of getting, except for Chrome. Chrome has too many minds in it. No, yeah, there's so many things in there that they do to get your data. We'll explore all that in a future video. And to add fuel to this fire, we're testing both X11 and Wayland. During some of my initial testing, now, time of day has a lot to do with performance of a web browser. I was seeing a lot of variance between X11 and Wayland. Tonight, I didn't. And I didn't this morning either. So I want to see which one of these is leaking more data and which performs better. That's what we've been talking about. Let's look at the first test, and that is, how do these companies fingerprint us and then track us? So first up, let's talk about fingerprinting websites that don't need cookies to track you. So they can identify, I always say like that word, who's they? People that own commercial websites, that's they. So they can identify you based on your screen resolution, your fonts, your hardware, even how your browser renders. I'm going to run some fingerprinting tests to see which browsers make you a ghost and which ones let you stand out like you were painted in neon. So, as expected, Chrome and Chromium are a disaster because they're just intended to be. So, the reason why Chromium was made was to get away from some of the larger traps that were inside of Chrome. And so it was spun off to be able to create one that was a little better. And that's true, but it's still a disaster, as you will see. Brave isn't as private as people think. The problem with Brave is the company that owns them is totally supported by ad revenue. Gee, I wonder where that comes from. Might be you. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of trust that if a company is being supported by ad revenue, do you trust them? Yeah, so I don't, but I do use Brave, and I'm moving away quickly. And then there's Mullvad and Tor. So Mullvad's marketing thing is to say we're trying to build a browser that has similar, not the same, but similar security features as Tor does without the overhead of the multiple layer network. Now, that doesn't mean it's a secured browser. It means it's a privacy browser. I mean, I think people, you should be able to differentiate those two. They are different things. Privacy keeps your data from getting out on the internet. Tell me what browser you're using and why. I mean, do you like the privacy feature? Maybe I missed it. It's possible. I only pick the ones that I always hear people talking about and the ones that I've used personally. So yeah, I'm sure there's always going to be that guy that says, well, you missed this obscure browser that no one's heard of. So, and I'm sure there's tons of those. I know there are quite a few browsers that I did not want to pick up simply because I don't have any experience with them. So if you think one of those are worth my time to go investigate, let me know. I'll be happy to go do that. I hope you enjoyed this video. One of the things that I wanted to reiterate was this is the first time I have used my real-time analysis of performance on the box. And the reason why I developed that under Grafana is because back in the old days, when you were measuring performance, you usually had to do it on the same machine that you were measuring. Unfortunately, that changes the result. The fact that you have something on the machine running will impact the performance of the thing you're trying to measure. So yeah, and that went away when we started rack mounting servers, because now I had the ability to start using one server to watchdog the other one without significantly impacting its performance. Yeah, there's probes that are gathering data, but you got to have something over there. But at least you didn't have the database and all the stuff that was flowing. If you've done much web testing or stress testing on websites, you probably know that you come in with a whole bank of laptops or computers to sit on to build these robot farms that hammer away at the website you're building to see whether or not it crashes. And that's part of stress testing, to see what is the limits and how much infrastructure does your website require as it scales, so that if you get hit like we did with 1 million users the first day up, we weren't prepared for that at all. We at least have done Chrome, Chromium, Brave, Firefox, LibreWolf, Mullvad, and Tor to the test, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like and subscribe and share it out with your friends. Hope to see you next time. Bye for now.